Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever shared something personal only to regret it later? Today we're talking about the 5 things women should never reveal too soon in a relationship. Why? Because protecting your peace is more powerful than oversharing your past. If you want to build stronger, healthier connections without losing yourself in the process, let's dive into the topic. This could be the mindset shift you didn't know you needed. If you're ready to level up your love life and protect your energy, hit that subscribe button and join the journey. We live in a world where vulnerability is often celebrated, and rightly so. But there's a distinct difference between being open and being unguarded. When you meet someone new, especially someone you're romantically interested in, it can be tempting to lay all your cards on the table. You might believe that full transparency will create a faster connection or show that you trust them. But the truth is, revealing your deepest insecurities too early doesn't build trust. It invites judgment before understanding. It gives someone power they haven't earned and burdens them with emotions they aren't yet equipped to handle. Emotional intimacy is earned over time, not granted in an instant. Your pain, fears, and self-doubts are sacred, not icebreakers. When you treat your wounds like conversation starters, you diminish the strength of your presence. You end up leading with the parts of yourself that need the most healing, not the parts that are ready to love. Every person has insecurities. That's human. But when you present those insecurities as your identity, you shape how someone sees you. And if the first thing they learn about you is what you dislike about yourself, they may unconsciously begin to agree. You could be the most vibrant, intelligent, kind person in the room, but if all you talk about is your weight, your fear of abandonment, or how you feel unworthy of love, that becomes the narrative they associate with you. People don't fall in love with problems to solve. They fall in love with people who inspire, challenge, and uplift them. Your job is not to prove how broken you are in hopes of being rescued. Your job is to build a life you're proud of and let someone earn the right to understand its complexities. Confidence isn't the absence of insecurity, it's knowing your insecurities but choosing not to be defined by them. When you first meet a man, he's still deciding how to feel about you. In those early stages, what you choose to share matters. If the first conversations are filled with confessions about your low self-esteem, jealousy issues, or the emotional trauma you're still unpacking, you're not creating connection. You're creating emotional noise. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about pacing the relationship and letting emotional depth emerge naturally. When you give someone too much too soon, you remove the mystery and the joy of discovery. Relationships thrive on layers being revealed over time, like pages in a good book. You want to be compelling, not overwhelming. You want to be intriguing, not a case study. Think of your emotional life as a private garden. Only those who tend it with care should be allowed in. That's not being distant, that's being discerning. Oversharing often comes from a place of fear. It's a subconscious attempt to control the situation, to force intimacy, to test if he'll stay, or to get reassurance quickly. But true confidence is rooted in patience. It trusts that if this person is right for you, they'll stick around long enough to know the full picture. You don't need to rush emotional closeness. Let it unfold with time and mutual respect. If someone loses interest because you didn't immediately show your scars, that's not rejection, it's protection. The right person will want to know you, but they'll also value what you hold sacred. They won't need you to spill every secret just to feel close. Emotional boundaries aren't barriers, they are bridges. Bridges that let the right people cross into your world at the right time, in the right way. When you protect your inner world, you protect your peace. There's also a danger in using insecurities to bond. It might seem comforting to confess something vulnerable and have someone say, "Me too!" And while shared struggles can build empathy, if your connection is built on pain rather than passion, the relationship will start from a place of instability. You become emotional partners before you're even real partners. And if that person later decides they can't carry the weight of your fears, you may feel abandoned, but in truth, they were never supposed to carry it to begin with. You are not obligated to make your pain a gateway to connection. There are other ways to be real, to be seen, and to be loved. Celebrate your strengths. Share your joys. Talk about your dreams. Save your deepest fears for the moments that feel safe, mutual, and grounded, not rushed or strategic. Love doesn't demand that you bleed to be believed. Let's be honest, some people misuse vulnerability. Not everyone who listens to your pain deserves that access. Some people take advantage of the emotional leverage that oversharing creates. They may act supportive in the beginning, only to use that information later as a way to manipulate, guilt, or dismiss you. That's why emotional privacy is so powerful. It's not about playing games. It's about protecting your worth. You don't need to disclose every emotional detail for someone to fall in love with you. Let them fall for your energy, your values, your smile, your intelligence. Let them discover your heart one chapter at a time, not by reading your entire diary on day one. The people who matter will earn their way into the deeper parts of your story, and those who don't won't even notice the silence you preserved. It's also worth noting that confidence is built through repetition. The more you practice showing up as your whole self without needing to be fixed, the more naturally that confidence will shine. That doesn't mean pretending you don't have flaws. It means owning them quietly, working on them privately, and allowing your actions to speak louder than your fears. You become magnetic when you show up with a sense of inner calm, not inner chaos. That calm doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from accepting yourself, even when parts of you are still healing. When you carry yourself with quiet assurance, you set a standard for how others treat you. You show them that your insecurities are not baggage, they're boundaries. They're not shameful, they're sacred. And that shifts the entire dynamic. This isn't about hiding, it's about timing. If you're dating someone and it's growing into something real, there will absolutely come a time when deeper conversations happen. But by then, you've built a foundation of trust and respect. That's when your vulnerability becomes a powerful tool, not a plea for closeness, but a gift of intimacy. Not looking for reassurance, you're sharing from strength. When you choose when and how to open up, you reclaim control over your narrative. You get to decide what parts of your story get told and when. Not out of fear, but out of emotional maturity. That choice creates safety, not just for you, but for the relationship as a whole. Two people can grow when vulnerability is mutual and earned, not demanded and dumped. In the end, emotional privacy is a form of self-respect. It's telling yourself, I am not obligated to explain my pain to be loved. It's knowing that not everyone gets front row seats to your soul. The right man won't need to hear your insecurities to appreciate your value. He'll see it in your presence, your kindness, your passion, your clarity. And when you do choose to share the more delicate parts of yourself, he won't run. Because by then, he'll have already fallen in love with the woman who knows her worth, not just her wounds. That's the kind of connection that lasts. That's the kind of love that respects both your strength and your softness. And that's the relationship you deserve. Money has a complicated place in relationships. It can empower, divide, attract, or intimidate. But one thing is certain, it should never define your worth. When you begin to share your financial struggles or success too early, it creates a dynamic that often leads the relationship down the wrong path. If you lead with how much you make, what you own, or what you lack, you risk becoming a number instead of a person. Your value doesn't come from your salary, your credit score, or your financial background. It comes from how you show up in the world. The problem isn't in being honest about where you are financially. It's in using it as a filter for romantic compatibility before true connection has even been established. Whether you're doing well or trying to find stability, your financial story is personal and it deserves context and trust. Oversharing about money early on can shift the focus from emotional connection to material assessment. It invites assumptions, expectations, and judgments that neither of you are ready to navigate yet. You are more than your bank balance. There's also a subtle but important truth. Talking about money too soon can feel like a test. Sometimes people mention their financial status early in a relationship as a way to see how the other person reacts. Will they stay if they know you're struggling? Will they respect you if you earn more than they do? But these questions often come from a place of fear and insecurity, not genuine curiosity. It's a defensive move disguised as transparency. The reality is, when you bring finances into early dating conversations, you can unintentionally put the other person in a position where they feel they need to prove something, either their generosity, their ambition, or their acceptance. But real attraction isn't built on pressure or emotional bargaining. It's built on connection, energy, and shared value. If you test someone before you trust them, you may drive away someone who might have stayed willingly. When you meet someone new, you want to be seen for who you are, not what you have. Leading with your financial position can cloud that. If you're financially successful and you make that a centerpiece of your identity, you might attract someone who's more interested in your lifestyle than your character. On the other hand, if you're struggling financially and talk about it immediately, you risk coming off as someone who's looking for support or pity. Even if that's not your intention, the right person doesn't need a resume, they want a relationship. And relationships thrive when both people are focused on who each other is at the core, not the numbers on a pay stub or the brands in a closet. If someone's going to judge your worth by your wallet, then they were never the right person to begin with. Don't give them that opportunity before you've even built something meaningful. It's also important to recognize that money creates power dynamics. Sharing too much too soon can alter the way a person sees their role in your life. If they think you're struggling, they might feel pressure to overcompensate, or they may assume you're expecting them to save you. If they think you're wealthy, they may feel inferior or believe you hold some unspoken expectation over them. Neither dynamic is healthy, especially at the beginning of a connection. Relationships should be grounded in equality, where both people bring value, not just financially, but emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. When money becomes the early focus, that balance gets disrupted. You want to be partners, not provider and dependent. It's better to build that equilibrium before revealing the full picture of your financial life. Time reveals intentions, and those with genuine interest will prove themselves in actions, not reactions to your bank account. It's okay to want to know where someone stands financially, especially if you're thinking about long-term compatibility. But those conversations should happen later, once mutual trust and emotional intimacy have been established. Early dating is not the time to dive into debt, details, salary disclosures, or investment strategies. It's a time to understand someone's character, how they treat people, how they respond to stress, and how aligned your values are. Financial conversations have their place, but when they're rushed, they shift the relationship into a transactional space too quickly. It becomes about security and survival, not joy and discovery. There is strength in being intentional with your disclosure. Wait until the bond is strong enough to hold the weight of practical realities. That way, when you do share, it's not about seeking validation or approval. It's about planning and partnership. Another risk of sharing your financial story too soon is that it may invite judgment you didn't anticipate. Even well-meaning people can make assumptions based on your money habits. If you tell someone you grew up poor, they might assume you have scarcity issues. If you tell them you're wealthy, they may assume you're entitled or expect certain treatment. These stereotypes don't reflect who you truly are, but once they're out there, it can be hard to undo them. People are naturally wired to make sense of information quickly, and early impressions stick. You owe it to yourself to let someone get to know your heart before you introduce the noise of finances. Let them admire your humor, your intelligence, your kindness. Let them fall in love with you and not the narrative that money or lack of it might suggest. Sometimes, especially if you've had painful experiences in the past, you might feel compelled to disclose financial information early as a defense mechanism. Maybe someone once took advantage of your generosity or judged you for not having enough, and you want to get it out there to protect yourself. But guarding your heart by overexposing your finances only creates a false sense of control. You can't predict someone's loyalty based on how they react to your money story. You can only observe their consistency, their kindness, and how they treat you when there's nothing to gain. That's where true safety lies, not in strategic oversharing, but in patient observation. Let people show you who they are before you tell them too much about where you are financially. The right person will walk beside you, not because of what you have, but because of who you are. You deserve to be in a relationship where love is not conditional on lifestyle. Whether you're in a phase of financial abundance or working hard to rebuild, your journey is valuable, and the person who's meant for you will respect that journey. They won't need to know every detail right away because their love isn't dependent on your numbers. It's built on shared experiences, values, and emotional compatibility. When you respect your own privacy, you teach others how to respect you too. You show them that what you've built, or what you're building, is yours, and it's not a tool for validation. Love isn't earned by proving you have money or proving you don't. It's nurtured through presence, honesty at the right time, and the steady growth of trust. Let your financial story unfold with grace, not urgency. In the end, your relationship with money is a personal one. It's a reflection of your life experiences, your decisions, and your dreams. It's okay to want a partner who's aligned with your financial goals, but that alignment comes through deep conversations, not early disclosures. Let your presence speak louder than your possessions. Let your attitude toward life reflect your richness, not your income, but your mindset. A strong connection doesn't require a balance sheet. It requires emotional maturity, shared vision, and mutual respect. When you hold back from oversharing your financial status too soon, you protect your energy and your integrity. You give the relationship a chance to grow from something real, not something reactive. And you remind yourself every step of the way that your worth has never been and never will be defined by money. When you enter a new relationship, it's natural to want to be understood. You might think that opening up about your past relationships early on will bring clarity or help the other person avoid making the same mistakes. But bringing up your emotional baggage too soon doesn't create safety, it creates pressure. When someone is still getting to know you, they aren't ready to carry the weight of your history. They're still forming their own opinion of you, not just reacting to the stories you tell. Constantly referencing your ex's heartbreaks or past disappointments builds a narrative that centers around your pain, not your progress. It creates an image of someone who's still living in the shadow of what went wrong. While your past is valid and deserves healing, it doesn't need to be the headline of your romantic life. The early stage of a relationship should be about discovery, not deconstruction. Sharing the history of failed relationships often comes from a place of self-protection. You might feel that by being honest about how you've been hurt, you'll teach someone how not to hurt you. But this approach is flawed. No one learns to love you through your wounds. They learn by seeing your joy, your values, your energy. When you make your past pain the framework of your story, you unintentionally put the other person in a defensive or caretaker role. And they might begin to feel like they're walking on eggshells, trying not to trigger old wounds, instead of building something new and meaningful. The foundation of any strong relationship is presence, not the ghosts of relationships past. Being overly focused on what's behind you distracts from what's in front of you. You want someone to connect with who you are now, not just who you've been and what you've been through. It's also important to understand that not everyone is emotionally equipped to handle someone else's trauma, especially right away. When you share deep, painful relationship stories too soon, you're asking for a level of emotional intimacy that hasn't been earned yet. This doesn't make you needy, it makes you human, but it also puts you in a vulnerable position. That level of vulnerability should be offered with trust, not urgency. If you're still emotionally entangled in past heartbreak, it can show up in your words, your fears, and your expectations. You might find yourself comparing, projecting, or assuming things based on your previous experiences. That's not fair to the new person who hasn't even had the chance to be themselves with you yet. They don't deserve to live in someone else's shadow, and you don't deserve to keep reliving a story you've outgrown. There's a difference between learning from your past and living in it. Talking about old relationships too soon often blurs that line. You may tell yourself that you're just being honest or setting expectations, but what you're really doing is inviting someone to judge your emotional readiness. Early romantic connections should be about possibility, not repair. Let the relationship build naturally before introducing the heavier chapters of your story. When the time is right, sharing your past will be an act of connection, not a cry for reassurance. You're not obligated to explain your wounds in order to deserve love. You deserve love because you're present, not because you've suffered. What matters most is how you've grown from your experiences, not how much they hurt. That strength will reveal itself in how you carry yourself, not just in the stories you tell. But the danger of early oversharing is that it gives someone a blueprint for how to hurt you. In your effort to be transparent, you may be unknowingly telling them exactly where you're most fragile. While some people will handle that information with care, others may misuse it, consciously or not. It's not about being suspicious of others, it's about being intentional with what you give away emotionally. Your past relationship experiences are not small talk, and they shouldn't be treated as such. They're intimate truths that should be reserved for someone who has shown consistency, safety, and genuine care. If someone hasn't earned that level of trust, they don't need that level of access. Emotional safety isn't created by bearing all. It's created by pacing intimacy, revealing yourself in layers, and observing how someone handles each piece of the truth. In many cases, talking about your ex too soon can also create an unfair comparison trap. Even if you're not doing it intentionally, constant references to what someone else did, good or bad, makes your date feel like they're auditioning rather than connecting. They begin to wonder if they're just a replacement, or if they're being measured against someone who isn't even present anymore. That pressure kills authenticity. The best relationships come from being fully available to the moment, not performing for the past. When you talk too much about your ex, you make that person a third party in your current relationship. You crowd the space that should be reserved for new connection. It's not about forgetting your history. It's about giving this new chapter the space to write itself without comparison or interference. Sometimes people overshare their relationship trauma to test loyalty. It's a way of saying, if you really care, you'll understand why I'm this way. But love isn't proven by tolerating unresolved pain. It's built by co-creating a new emotional environment. If your past has shaped you into someone more guarded, more cautious, or even more self-aware, let that show through your actions and boundaries, not your warnings. A partner learns who you are through your presence, not your past. It's okay to have scars. It's okay to still be healing. But the people who love you should be invited into your current journey, not pulled into your emotional history like it's part of the deal. Let the depth of who you are unfold slowly, gracefully. That's where the magic happens. When someone falls in love with your growth, not your grief. Even if the past feels like a big part of who you are, it doesn't need to dominate your story. You can talk about your values without referencing how someone once betrayed them. You can talk about what you want in love without detailing how someone failed to give it. Your clarity can come from peace, not pain. The most attractive energy is someone who knows where they're going, not just where they've been. When you focus on what you've learned instead of what you've lost, your story becomes inspiring, not heavy. Save the deeper parts of your relationship history for when there's enough trust and mutual investment to handle it well. When that moment comes, it will feel like an act of closeness, not a confession, not a warning, not a test. Just truth, shared with purpose. Your past doesn't make you unlovable. It makes you layered, wise, and resilient. But that doesn't mean every part of it needs to be unpacked right away. Some parts are still healing. And that's okay. Give yourself the grace to leave certain pages closed until the timing is right. Emotional intimacy is something you build slowly, not demand instantly. When you hold your relationship history with care, you invite someone to approach it with the same respect. You're allowed to have boundaries around your past. You're allowed to keep some parts of your heart private until it feels safe to open. That's not hiding. That's honoring your journey. The right person will understand that the best things are revealed with time. In the early stages of love, presence is the greatest gift you can offer. You're not defined by what's behind you. You're defined by who you're becoming. Let your story unfold in the present tense. Let someone love the version of you that exists now, not the version still tangled in old memories. You are allowed to have a past. You are allowed to heal slowly, but you are not required to use that past as a measuring stick for every new experience. Let go of the urge to over-explain. Trust that if someone is truly meant for you, they'll stay long enough to understand your depth without needing a roadmap to your pain. And when you choose to share your past, let it be an act of strength, not survival. When starting a new connection, it's tempting to overshare your dreams and future plans in the hope that the other person will align with your vision. You might think that expressing your deepest goals will create instant understanding or fast-track emotional intimacy, but the truth is, not everyone deserves access to the most sacred parts of your future until they've proven they'll support, not shape or derail those dreams. Sharing your life's blueprint too early can invite opinions that dilute your clarity or judgments that shake your confidence. You might unconsciously begin adjusting your path to fit someone who hasn't even earned a permanent seat in your life. Your goals, ambitions, and life map are not conversational bait. They're commitments you've made to yourself. When you share too soon, you open the door for premature influence, and that can be damaging to your momentum. Your vision deserves protection, especially in its early or evolving stages. It needs room to breathe, grow, and stay rooted in your own truth. Dreams are fragile when exposed too quickly. What begins as an exciting declaration can quickly turn into a negotiation if the wrong person hears it. If you're telling someone your goals in the hopes they'll support or even validate them, you're handing them power over something deeply personal. It's not about hiding your ambition, but about holding it with the reverence it deserves. Letting someone in on your vision too early makes it vulnerable to misunderstanding, jealousy, or even subtle discouragement. A well-timed comment like, "That sounds really hard," or "Do people actually make it doing that?" can plant seeds of doubt that grow over time. Before someone has proven themselves as a supporter of your potential, they don't get to weigh in on your destination. Protecting your vision isn't secrecy, it's wisdom. It's about nurturing your goals until they're strong enough to withstand outside energy. People often mistake connection for readiness. Just because you feel chemistry with someone doesn't mean they're equipped to handle your purpose. Your life's direction is bigger than a new relationship. It's the result of your soul work, your history, your passion, and your purpose. When you speak your dreams into a space that hasn't been cultivated with trust, you risk giving away too much too soon. It's like planting seeds in soil you haven't tested. The environment matters. Some people are more interested in how your goals affect them than how they fulfill you. If your dreams inconvenience their expectations, you may find yourself shrinking or reshaping what once set your heart on fire. Don't let excitement confuse intimacy. A person's proximity to you does not equal entitlement to your future. There's also the silent risk of being misjudged. When you share your long-term vision with someone early on, they may assume you expect them to play a role in it. That assumption can trigger fear, retreat, or premature pressure. Instead of focusing on the beauty of your ambition, they're analyzing what your goals mean for their freedom or responsibilities. You don't want someone to feel like they're being hired into your life story. You want someone who walks alongside you out of genuine respect for your path. When someone hasn't had time to fall in love with who you are, they can't fully appreciate where you're going. And if your future doesn't perfectly mirror theirs, it may cause conflict before there's even a solid foundation. Keep your direction sacred until you're sure someone is ready to walk beside you. not in front of or against you. Your goals are an extension of your identity. They reflect how you see the world, what you value, and what you're willing to work for. To hand them over too early is to invite feedback that may not come from love, but from bias or fear. Not everyone thinks big. Not everyone believes in possibility. And not everyone will understand why your path matters so much to you. When you talk about your dreams with someone who lacks vision, they might dismiss them or treat them like a phase. This can chip away at your confidence before you even get started. When someone truly sees you, they won't need convincing, but before you know who that person is, it's wise to keep your mission protected. You are the steward of your own potential. Be careful who you let speak into it. Sometimes, in the rush of new connection, people share their plans as a form of compatibility checking. You might say, I want to move abroad, or I'm planning to start my own business, just to see how the other person reacts. But using your goals as tests isn't fair to either of you. Your plans are sacred, not filters. They're not tools to gauge someone's immediate value. They're reflections of long-term alignment. Someone might agree with your dreams just to stay close, or pretend to support you while quietly hoping you'll change. This creates a false sense of unity that unravels later when the truth surfaces. It's far more powerful to know where you're going and observe who naturally aligns over time. The people who are right for your life will rise to meet your standards. You won't need to pitch your dreams like a sales presentation. There's a unique power in keeping parts of your journey private. In a world that celebrates constant exposure, privacy is strength. When your ambitions are still forming, they need silence and protection, not constant explanation. Just because someone seems emotionally available doesn't mean they have the maturity to hear your vision without projecting their own fears onto it. Some people offer love only when you stay small. When you start dreaming out loud, they shrink back or resist your growth. Keeping your plans close allows you to spot these patterns before they become problems. It gives you space to grow without external pressure. Not everything you're building is meant for public display. Some of your best work will be done in quiet determination. You also deserve the joy of achieving things without the weight of expectation. When too many people know your plans, it can feel like you're performing instead of progressing. If a relationship ends and someone knows every detail of your goals, it may feel like you've lost more than love. You've lost privacy. There's beauty in revealing your vision slowly with discernment. Every dream doesn't need to be understood to be valid. Every plan doesn't need approval to move forward. The person who truly loves you will support your growth even if they don't fully grasp it. But they have to earn the right to stand beside that dream. They have to show up with presence, consistency, and encouragement. Until then, your purpose belongs to you alone. At the heart of all this is self-respect. When you protect your vision, you're not hiding. You're honoring your purpose. You're recognizing that the most important parts of your life deserve to be nurtured before they're shared. You don't need to advertise your ambition to be impressive. Your energy speaks louder than your explanation. People will feel your depth without needing every detail. And the right ones will ask thoughtful questions, not demand full access. You are not obligated to bring someone into your future before they've shown up for your present. Let your life unfold on your terms. Share your dreams with people who show they can handle them with care. And remember, your future is not a conversation starter, it's a legacy you're building, one decision at a time.